welcome to the Deep Dive. You shared this really fascinating collection, Subhashita Manjari.
That's right.
It's Sanskrit maxims translated into Canada. So our goal today is to maybe pull out some quick, potent wisdom from these good sayings, something people can really use.
Exactly. Think of it as a curated collection from centuries of Sanskrit literature.
Wow.
Yeah, you've got poetry, the epics, Ramayana, Mahabharata, even stories like the Panchatantra and Hitopadesha in there.
So a huge range.
A huge range. And it represents this long tradition of appreciating, impactful sayings.
Okay, so what exactly makes something a Subhashita? What are these good sayings?
Well, a Subhashita isn't just like a nice-sounding phrase. It's meant to be a well-said expression, often holding some deep experience or insight.
Okay.
They're a bit like Proverbs, maybe like Canada Proverbs and how they hit, and they cover almost everything.
Like what?
Oh, ethics, dharma, practical wisdom, satire, love, detachment, even humor, all sorts of stuff.
And the idea is that these themes are timeless.
Pretty much. Because they deal with fundamental human experiences, they sort of resonate across time and culture. They still feel relevant.
So more than just collecting old quotes then. There's a deeper value.
Absolutely. There's this idea that just collecting these gems, as they called them, is valuable. They can bring joy even when you're down, spark a desire to learn more. They're seen as powerful things.
Powerful how?
Well, one verse really puts it starkly. It says the best things on earth are water, food, and Subhashita's good words.
Water, food, and good words.
Yeah. And it contrasts that with fools who think stones, jewels are the real treasures.
That certainly elevates the idea of wisdom.
It does. And Sanskrit itself, the language, was held in incredibly high regard.
Right.
There's another saying that calls Sanskrit the foremost language. It's poetry sweet. And its Subhashita is even sweeter than the poetry, the absolute peak.
Wow. Okay. Now, you mentioned this collection also touches on samsara, family life.
Yes, it gives some perspectives on that, often quite practical ones.
Like what's the picture it paints?
Well, you get glimpses of what was considered a good life. One verse lists 6 sukhani, or pleasures.
6 pleasures.
Yeah. Having wealth, good health, a loving wife who speaks pleasantly, an obedient son, and, interestingly, knowledge that's useful.
That's quite specific. Reflects certain values, I guess.
Definitely. But it's not all rosy. Other verses show the challenges.
Okay.
There's one about the mother's dilemma with her daughter's marriage. If the daughter stays home unmarried, it brings shame. But if she marries and leaves, it brings sorrow.
Oof. That sounds complicated. And still kind of relatable, actually.
It really is, isn't it, that tension? And there's also a focus on guidance on education within the family.
Yes.
Like one says, even if children are unwilling, they must be taught good conduct.
Must be.
Yes, through education. It compares it to medicine curing illness necessary, even if unpleasant sometimes. Shaping character was key.
Right. What about just dealing with life's ups and downs?
That comes up too. Dissatisfaction is painted as ruinous, whereas contentment brings peace, even if you're poor. Finding that inner balance.
So contentment is a big theme.
A very big theme. And also recognizing how fast life goes, filled with joy, sorrow, all these experiences flashing by.
The cycle of life almost.
Exactly. And the impact of our desires and attachments in that cycle.
So is there a suggestion for finding happiness amidst all that? Within samsara?
Some verses definitely point towards maybe a kind of detachment, not indifference, but finding contentment in what comes naturally without being totally pulled under by worldly sorrows.
Finding peace regardless of circumstances.
That seems to be a thread, yes. Inner contentment.
Okay. So wrapping up this quick dive into the Subhashita Manjari, it seems we've seen just how much value this ancient tradition placed on, well-spoken wisdom.
Definitely. And we've gotten a glimpse into some really enduring perspectives on family life, its joys, and its complexities.
These verses, centuries old, but still give you pause for thought.
They really do. Timeless stuff.
So maybe a final thought for our listeners to ponder. These texts describe life as potentially both Ingudamaya, like nectar, and going to Vishamaya, like poison.
That contrast.
Reflecting on your own life, what aspects lean towards the nectar and which feel more like the poison? And perhaps how might the kind of wisdom we touched on today offer some guidance in navigating that? Something to think about.